The trading post orbited the third moon of Voria Prime, a glittering ring of commerce where species from across 3 sectors came to barter, negotiate, and occasionally cheat each other. Marcus Webb adjusted his leather jacket, genuine earth leather, which still turned heads this far from home, and watched the docking bay doors slide open with a pneumatic hiss. "You nervous?" Tobin asked, his weathered face creasing into a grin. The older man had been Marcus's partner for 5 years now, teaching him the intricate dance of interstellar trade. "Should I be?" Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair, checking his reflection in a polished metal panel. At 32, he'd learned that confidence could close deals as effectively as competitive pricing. "You're about to negotiate with Vorian royalty, kid. They make Earth's old monarchies look like democratic communes." Tobin clapped him on the shoulder. "Just remember they value directness wrapped in courtesy. And whatever you do, don't mention the war." Marcus nodded. The Vorian-Terran conflict had ended 15 years ago, before he'd ever left Earth, but some wounds took generations to heal. Today's negotiation was supposed to help bridge that. Gap a trade agreement for Earth's rare botanical specimens, in exchange for Vorian crystal weaving technology. The delegation arrived precisely on schedule, because of course they did. Vorians treated punctuality like a religion. But it was the woman at the center of the procession who stole Marcus's breath. Queen Selenara moved like water given form, her skin the color of twilight, a deep purple blue that seemed to shift with each step. Her gown flowed around her in layers of iridescent fabric that captured and reflected the station's lights. But it was her eyes that held him, brilliant amber, flecked with gold, intelligent and wary in equal measure. "Your Majesty," Marcus bowed in the Vorian style, left hand over heart, right extended palm up. "I'm honored by your presence." Those amber eyes studied him with surprising intensity. "Mr. Webb, your reputation precedes you. They say you're the most honest human trader in the outer sectors." "They say I'm the only honest human trader in the outer sectors," he replied with a slight smile. "I prefer to think I'm simply practical. Honesty builds better long-term relationships." A ghost of amusement touched her lips. "We shall see. Shall we begin?" The negotiations proceeded in one of the station's diplomatic suites, all neutral territory, carefully monitored by station security. Minister Hadrian, the Queen's silver-haired advisor, led most of the technical discussions, while Selenara observed with that penetrating gaze. Marcus found himself splitting his attention between the contract terms and the woman across the table. She rarely spoke, but when she did, her words carried weight. She'd interrupt to clarify a point about agricultural applications, or question the sustainability of harvesting certain specimens. This wasn't a figurehead monarch. She understood every detail of what they were negotiating. "The distribution rights for the northern provinces," Hadrian was saying, his long fingers dancing across a holographic display. "We would need." The explosion shattered the careful diplomacy into chaos. The suite's window wall disintegrated inward, and Marcus reacted on instinct honed from growing up in the rough districts of New Boston. He lunged forward, grabbing Selenara around the waist and pulling her down as debris filled the air where she'd been standing. His body covered hers as a second blast rocked the station, this one closer. Time stretched. He could feel her heart hammering against his chest, smell something like cinnamon and ozone in her hair. The emergency systems kicked in, force fields snapping into place, alarms shrieking, automated voices calling for security. "Are you hurt?" Marcus asked, finally pulling back enough to meet those amber eyes. Up close, he could see flecks of actual gold in them, like stars. "I know. You?" Selenara's voice was steadier than her hands, which gripped his jacket. "I'm fine." He helped her up carefully, keeping himself between her and the shattered window. Through the force field, he could see figures in combat armor retreating toward an unmarked ship. Professional hit. They knew exactly where we'd be. Minister Hadrian groaned from where he'd fallen, a nasty gash across his forehead. Tobin was already on his unit, coordinating with station security. The Queen's other guards, Marcus realized with cold horror, weren't moving at all. Selenara saw at the same moment he did. Her face went carefully blank in a way that told him she'd had practice hiding her emotions. They were loyal servants. They deserved better than this. "Your Majesty," one of the arriving security officers said breathlessly, "we need to get you to a secure location immediately." But Selenara wasn't looking at the officer. She was looking at Marcus with an expression he couldn't quite read. "You saved my life. Anyone would have known." Her voice carried absolute certainty. Most would have saved themselves first. It's instinct. She turned to her advisor, who was being tended by medical personnel. "Minister Hadrian, witness this. By the old law, the law that bound my ancestors, I owe this human a debt of life." Hadrian's eyes widened. "Your Majesty, surely in these modern times, the law is clear." Selenara straightened, and suddenly Marcus could see the queen she was: regal, powerful, unmovable. "Marcus Webb of Earth, you have saved the life of Voria's crown. By right and ancient custom, you may claim one wish from me, anything within my power to grant. Name it, and if it can be done, it shall be done." The station security was still bustling around them. Medical teams arriving, damage assessment crews cordoning off the area. But in that moment, Marcus was aware only of the woman before him. Amber eyes challenging him to ask for wealth, or political favor, or one of 1,000. Predictable things. What he said instead surprised even himself. "I wish to court you, properly, by your customs and mine." The silence that fell was more profound than the explosion had been. Minister Hadrian looked like he might faint. Tobin's mouth hung open. The security officers froze in place, but Selenara's eyes widened, her purple-blue skin deepening to something almost violet. If he didn't know better, he'd say she was blushing. "You ... She seemed to struggle for words, something he suspected didn't happen often. "You cannot be serious, completely serious." Marcus kept his voice level, professional, though his heart was racing. "You asked what I wished for. That's my answer. Do you have any idea what you're asking?" "The political implications, I know exactly what I'm asking, Your Majesty." He met her gaze steadily. "A chance. That's all. If at any point you want me to leave, I will. But I'm asking for the opportunity to know you as more than just a monarch I'm trading with." Hadrian found his voice. "Your Majesty, this is highly irregular. Perhaps if we offered Master Webb a more traditional reward." "No." Selenara cut him off, still staring at Marcus. A storm of emotions played across her face: shock, curiosity, something that might have been hope. "The law is absolute. A life debt requires the wish be granted if possible." She took a breath. "And this wish, however unprecedented, however scandalous it may be, is possible." She stepped closer, and Marcus caught that cinnamon ozone scent again. "Very well, Marcus Webb. Your wish is granted. You may court me properly, as you say, by both our customs. But know this, I am not some prize to be won, nor will I make this easy for you." Marcus felt a smile tugging at his lips. "Your Majesty, if I wanted easy, I'd have asked for a cargo hold full of Vorian crystals." For the first time, he saw her truly smile, not the diplomatic expression she'd worn during negotiations, but something genuine and bright and a little dangerous. "Minister Hadrian," she said, never breaking eye contact with Marcus, "it seems we'll need to prepare guest quarters in the palace. Permanent ones." As they were escorted to more secure areas of the station, Marcus caught Tobin's expression, somewhere between admiration and terror. "What have you done?" His partner whispered. Marcus, watched Selenara speaking with her security detail, graceful even in crisis, and felt something settle in his chest, like destiny finally clicking into place. "Started something interesting," he murmured back. "Very, very interesting." The Palace of Ascending Stars lived up to its name. Marcus stood on the balcony of his assigned quarters, watching the twin suns of Voria Prime paint the sky in shades of amber and violet. Below, the capital city sprawled like a jeweled tapestry spires of living crystal that hummed with bioelectric energy, gardens that defied gravity, and aerial walkways where Vorians moved with that distinctive fluid grace. Impressive, isn't it? Marcus turned to find Tobin entering through the ornate archway, carrying what looked suspiciously like contraband coffee from Earth. "You smuggled that through customs?" Marcus accepted the cup gratefully. "I prefer the term carefully negotiated its passage." Tobin settled into one of the strange Vorian chairs that molded itself to accommodate his human physiology. "So, 3 weeks in the palace. How goes the courtship that scandalized 3 sectors?" Marcus laughed, though it came out more rueful than amused. "If I see one more etiquette instructor, I might actually prefer another assassination attempt. Did you know there are 17 different hand gestures for greeting someone, depending on their rank, the time of day, and the phase of the larger moon? And the queen? That was the question, wasn't it?" Marcus had seen Selenara exactly 4 times since arriving at the palace, always at formal functions, always surrounded by advisors and nobles, always carefully distant. Each time, those amber eyes had found his across crowded rooms, holding just long enough to make his breath catch before she looked away. "She's busy being a queen," Marcus said quietly. "I knew what I was getting into." "Did you?" Tobin's weathered face was kind but serious. "Because I'm not sure you did, kid. Lady Priscilla alone has tried to have you thrown out 6 times. Marcus grimaced. Lady Priscilla was everything he'd expected from Vorian nobility: beautiful, brilliant, and utterly convinced that humans were little more than primitive upstarts. She'd made her opposition to his presence crystal clear, rallying other nobles who shared her views. "She can't actually have me removed," Marcus said. "The life debt is tradition, not law." "Not really." Tobin set down his cup. "Selenara honors it because she chooses to. But pressure from the court." He shrugged. "Even queens have limits." Before Marcus could respond, a soft chime echoed through the room. A holographic message materialized, written in formal Vorian script that Marcus had spent the last 3 weeks learning to read. "The Western Gardens, midnight. Come alone." As his heart kicked against his ribs, the Western Gardens were ancient, dating back to Voria's first dynasty. Marcus moved through them now, by the light of the larger moon, following pathways that wound between bioluminescent flowers and trees, whose leaves sang softly in the night breeze. He found her by a fountain, its water flowing upward in defiance of gravity, droplets hanging suspended like diamonds before falling back. She'd abandoned her formal court attire for something simpler, a flowing dress the color of midnight, her dark hair unbound and falling past her shoulders. "You came," Selenara said, not turning around. "You doubted I would?" "I doubted you'd find your way through the gardens. They're designed to confuse outsiders." Now she turned, and in the moonlight, her purple-blue skin seemed to glow softly. "But Tobin gave you a map, didn't he?" Marcus pulled the small data chip from his pocket with a sheepish grin. "He said you'd test me. Smart man." She gestured to a bench carved from a single piece of crystal. "Sit with me." They sat in silence for a moment, the singing trees providing a gentle melody. This close, Marcus could see the exhaustion in her face subtle, but there. "I apologize," Selenara said finally, "for the distance these past weeks. Court has been ... complicated. Lady Priscilla? Among others. She represents a faction It believes strongly in Vorian purity, whatever that means in a galaxy of interconnected species. Selenara's fingers traced patterns on the crystal bench. The assassination attempt wasn't random, Marcus. We've learned it was orchestrated by nobles who fear change. And our arrangement has become a symbol of exactly the kind of change they despise. Should I leave? The words hurt to say, but he meant them. I don't want to make things harder for you. Her hand covered his, the touch sending electricity up his arm. No, stay, please. She met his eyes. Do you know why I agreed to your wish? I could have found ways around it. Marcus shook his head, not trusting his voice. Because in that moment after the explosion, when you pulled me to safety, I saw something in your eyes. Not awe at my title, not calculation about what you could gain. Just ... concern. For me. The person. Her thumb traced circles on his palm. Do you know how rare that is? I imagine being a queen is lonely. Profoundly. The word came out soft, vulnerable. Everyone wants something. An alliance, a favor, a political advantage. They see the crown, never the woman wearing it. Marcus turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. I see her. The woman who interrupted trade negotiations to question agricultural sustainability. Who mourned her fallen guards, even while under attack. Who carries the weight of an entire civilization, and somehow makes it look effortless. Selenara's eyes shimmered with something that might have been tears. You're making this very difficult. What? Maintaining proper distance. She laughed, the sound catching. I'm supposed to be evaluating whether you're suitable. Testing your knowledge of our customs, your commitment, your... Marcus leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. And what's your evaluation so far? That I'm in terrible trouble, she whispered, and then closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle, exploratory, a question and answer all at once. She tasted like the alien fruit from dinner, something sweet and slightly electric. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing harder, Marcus saw wonder and fear warring in her expression. We can't do this, Selenara said, but she didn't let go of his hand. The court would. The court will always find something to object to. Marcus cupped her face gently. The question is, what do you want? I want ... She closed her eyes. I want to be selfish. I want to have something that's mine, not negotiated or arranged or politically advantageous. I want a twig snapped nearby. They sprang apart as Lady Priscilla emerged from the shadows, her elegant features twisted with triumph. How touching, she said, her voice dripping venom. The queen, sneaking around like a common servant with a human traitor. Selenara stood, and Marcus saw her transform back into the monarch he'd first met, cold, regal, untouchable. You dare spy on your queen? I dare protect Voria from a catastrophic mistake. Priscilla's eyes glittered. This ... dalliance ... ends now. Or I take what I've witnessed to the High Council. The Council has no authority over my personal life. Perhaps not. But they have authority over trade agreements, diplomatic relations, military alliances. How much chaos are you willing to cause for one human? She smiled cruelly. How much is he really worth? Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but before he could speak, Selenara stepped forward. More than you could possibly understand. Her voice was ice and fire. You speak of protecting Voria, Priscilla, but what you protect is your own prejudice. Marcus has shown more honor in 3 weeks than you've displayed in years of court service. The council will hear of this. Let them. Selenara's hand found Marcus's again, a deliberate gesture. Let all of them hear. I am done hiding what I choose freely. Priscilla's face went pale and flushed with rage. You'll regret this, Your Majesty. Both of you. She turned and disappeared into the garden's dock. In the silence that followed, Marcus squeezed Selenara's hand. That could have gone better, or worse. She turned to him, and despite everything, she was smiling. At least now we don't have to sneak around. You realize she's going to make our lives extremely difficult? She was already doing that. Selenara pulled him close, resting her forehead against his. But you know what I've learned about humans since you arrived? What's that? You're very good at doing difficult things. She kissed him again, longer this time, deeper. When they broke apart, her eyes held determination. We have a storm coming, Marcus Webb. Are you ready? Marcus thought about the conspiracies brewing in the court, the political fallout, the cultural barriers they'd have to overcome. He thought about how her hand fit perfectly in his, how her smile made something in his chest feel too large for his body. With you? He said, I'm ready for anything. Above them, the twin moons of Voria Prime painted the sky in silver and gold, bearing witness to a choice that would change two worlds. And in the shadows beyond the garden walls, other eyes watched and plotted, preparing their next move in a game where the stakes were nothing less than the future itself.